All right, guys, so quick recap once again. We've already looked at a visual analysis. That was step one of reverse engineering. The second step is a functional analysis. So when I say that, that is just looking at the overall, what is this thing doing? All right, it's not destructive. We're not doing anything crazy, but it's just looking at the overall function of that said object. All right, there are three main parts of that though. All right, first and foremost, quite simply, you just need to understand what is its overall purpose. That can be extremely easy on a simple object like scissors. That could be a little bit harder when you have something much more complex, like when you're trying to reverse engineer a computer tower and everything that goes in that. But for the most part, that's a pretty straightforward part. Second step of a functional analysis is to actually look at how the product functions by looking at all the different parts that make it up and trying to, if you can, see how they interact with each other. So once again, scissors, not too hard. I got grip on the ends. I got the metal actual shearing parts that are sharpened on each part. I have a bolt that goes through it with a nut on the other side. All of these things are just the parts, but as I start to move it and look at it, I can see, oh, this is actually going to act as my pivot point. It's not too tight that I can't actually move it, but it's not so loose that they're not floppy and it doesn't cut anything. So actually looking at these different parts and how this is actually shaped down here can help you understand how it's supposed to function, and that can be a really helpful thing in reverse engineering. And the last part is looking at the inputs and the outputs and the actual function of an object. All right. In reverse engineering, it's called using the black box model. But basically, I want you to understand that when you have the inputs and the outputs, there are normally a lot more than you think there would be. So when I look at scissors, you obviously need paper and scissors for it to cut something, or you could use something other than paper. But on top of that, when I'm looking at the outputs, all right, there is more than just a cut piece of paper when you use scissors. That is an output. That's the most important one. That's the desired one you want to end up with. But when you're cutting something, it can make sound. There can be friction. There are a lot of other things that you might not think of as outputs when something works. And that can be really helpful to think those really through to understand how something works if you're going to reverse engineer it. All right. So function analysis, three parts. Look at the purpose. Try to figure out how it functions by breaking it down, all the different parts, and see how they interact. And then look at the inputs and the outputs by putting it through the black box system model. All right. So not too complicated once again, but trying to be thorough with reverse engineering. That's the second step.